Hello, welcome to Spotlight, a spark of creative hope in a troubled world.
Spotlight, brought to you by the Isle of Man Arts Council.
This evening, we catch up with comedian Zeki Jeffries and hear a little of what's happening at Kensington Arts this summer, and also a poem from the Bard as she rapidly heads towards the end of her year. Remember, do get in touch with any creative artistic endeavours you might be involved in, planning, hoping to create, or would really like to put in the spotlight. Poetic, theatrical, musical, literary, ceramic, sculpted, drag, mime, film, you know it. Email spotlight@manxradio.com, howardkane@manxradio.com. Put an E on the Kane so it'll get to me. I'd be delighted to hear from you. So, we spoke to comedian Zeki Jeffries some weeks back, recently relocated to the Isle of Man from Sydney, Australia. Brave man, and keen to try and encourage a stand-up comedy scene here on the island, akin to the one he'd been performing in Down Under. Now, there have been attempts before to do this on the island with some success, before it petered out again, it seems, and it may have escaped your attention, but the island is something of a different scene to Sydney. But Zeki has youth and enthusiasm on his side, not to say experience, of course, of performing, and he's already organised a very successful evening out at Knockalo Farm, with the wonderful title of Knock Knock Knockalo Beg Comedy Night. He called by, true dedication, bearing in mind the Manx summer weather on the day. He was absolutely soaked, torrential wind and rain, and he came in, still smiling, to tell me about how it went and his plans going forward.
This sort of first night it felt a bit like just testing the waters, just seeing how it goes, seeing what the demand is out there, and seeing how, like, what performers are out there as well. And so I was very impressed with it, and it was just, I was super happy with how it went. We had just over 60 audience members show up.
Well, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good, and 9 comedians as well. It was a fundraiser for the International Justice Mission, and we managed to raise £600.
Wow, that's good too.
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah,
a win-win. And where did it take place?
It took place at Knockalo Beg Farm, so it was just like a little cafe type venue that they had, and it was really great. It was a small space, but it was quite intimate, and I think that was what really worked, especially for the performers who, most of them, actually the vast majority, only 2 of us had performed before. Everyone else was getting up there for the very first time, and so and they all did really well, which I think was the most surprising and the most really impressive, which was just that people were just giving it a go their very first time, and it was just so successful.
Now, it takes a lot of balls to get up there for the first time, doesn't it?
It really does, doesn't it? Yeah. And I think that's what I've realised going forward in organising this is that, and from the first night, it's sort of been a bit of a learning curve, and I realised that it's not actually just about people wanting to perform stand-up comedy, being interested in performing stand-up comedy. It's about encouraging people, because they're usually quite scared. Like, lots of people have that inside them of like, oh, maybe I could do this, or I think that I could be kind of funny. But it's usually just something holding them back, and it's like that fear of, I don't know, public speaking or the judgment. It is quite a vulnerable thing to get up there.
It is, and I think you're right, particularly with comedy or something, isn't it? It's lovely to have people laughing with you, but it's not quite so nice to have people laughing at you, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's always the fear. But I think the biggest fear is just the silence. I think that's what people are the most scared about, which is, and also, I guess from my prior experience in comedy in the Sydney scene, that was always the worst thing, was just like the silence. It's so uncomfortable, but it's uncomfortable, but it's also quite freeing to be able to just, like, that's sort of what it's about. It's about being really vulnerable and putting yourself out there. And even if it is silent, it's like, you know what, this is growth. Yeah.
And how did you reach out? Was it through social media? Where did the people come from mainly?
I did do lots of reaches out through social media. To be honest, not too many of them were successful. We only had one performer who came through via Facebook, but he was great. He was really good, and he had actually already performed comedy on the island before. The rest of them were, I was organising it. I had a teammate organising it with me, Sue, and she's been on the island for quite a while. And so I was very lucky to have her, because it meant that she knew lots of people, and she reached out to like her friend groups and friends of friends. And I think that's what I'm struggling with the most, is trying to find people from, like, just people who from all around the community who are interested in doing comedy. But I think what I did realize was that if Sue has all these friends who are interested in comedy and would get up and give it a go, then how many other people are out there who just need a bit of encouragement to just get up? Yeah.
And predominantly the younger age demographic, or mixed, or
very mixed. Yeah, actually very mixed. We did have probably about like mostly sort of 20s to 30s. We had someone who was over 90 performing. Yeah. He wasn't actually performing, he was writing the jokes and then his daughter performed them, but still performing.
Okay.
Yeah, that was great. And it was funny. It was a family friendly night, but his jokes were probably the most inappropriate.
That sounds about par for the course.
It sounds about right, yeah.
And was there a sort of were there sort of different styles on show? Were they all sort of coming from the same angle, as it were, comedically, or the very different sort of styles?
Very different styles, very different styles. And I think that was what was really interesting to see, was all the different styles. I mean, I think you had a very sort of like an older style of stand-up comedy, if that makes sense, where it's more about the individual knock-knock jokes as much as it's about, like, where comedy these days, it's much more like TED Talks, if that makes sense. It's people really going into different topics. So you didn't have as much as you had like the individual jokes. That was one thing. You had like some people who had very conversational, casual, like it was just like they were just having a chat with the audience, just telling stories and jokes like that. But there was a real mix. Yeah, definitely.
So probably, so like sort of observational stuff as well as just sort of, as you say, the straight sort of gag jokes.
Exactly. That's right. Yeah.
Oh, cool. So so I suppose the question now is, where do we go from here? So a cracking start from all accounts, good audience numbers, a good figure raised for a good cause as well. Where do we go now?
Yes. So, well, first of all, I've been super encouraged by this first night. Like, I really want to just keep going at it and just keep organising as many nights as I can. I think what I'm thinking of now, obviously, Nikelo Beg, it was not at a traditional comedy venue because it was at a farm, and I would quite like to start organising them at pubs and hotels around the island. And there are a lot of venues that I think that have reached out and that I know of, and I'm looking around, having a look at what's out there, and I would really just like to get a variety of different shows at a variety of different places. Next place that I'm sort of leaning towards is Ramsey. And
Sun
I would
always shines in the north.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, I'd just love to organise just an open mic night at a pub. Just another, again, it'll still be getting up and running and but just to take it that sort of step further. And so hopefully more information will come out about that in the coming weeks, I'm hoping.
Terrific. And what's the best way of people hearing this, want to get involved? Either they want to think, oh, what am I going to watch? Or better still, they're thinking, wouldn't mind giving it a whiz. Mm-hmm. What's the best way? So
their Instagram account is obviously going to be the best for, like, I'll be posting updates about that. That's Geary Comedy Club _IOM. And then also on email, if you're interested in emailing me about wanting to perform, then the email that I've made is gearycomedyclub@gmail.com. So you can obviously anytime please reach out and with anything at all. Even if you're interested in giving it a whiz but you're a bit too scared, just send me an email. I'm not going to make you do it, but it's just nice to hear people, and it's just nice to get a bit of feedback as to what people are interested in.
Terrific. And just finally, how are you coping? Like I said, it was a big jump from Australia. You can't go much further from Australia to the Isle of Man. And as we speak today, in the middle of the June, as it were, it's well, not entirely tropical on the weather front. You've been coping all right?
I have been coping all right, although I am sitting here right now completely drenched from walking up the hill. But aside from that, I am really loving it. I am really loving it. Aside from the weather, it's been really great. Just getting used to the island, and also being here for TT Week. That was awesome to see.
That's good. Great.
Yeah.
You're warming to it. That's it.
Yeah, I'm warming to it. Not warming to it, but.
And if you want to get in touch or talk to Zeki, the Instagram is Geary Comedy Club _ Isle of Man, and Geary is GEAREY, all one word. Or email Geary the same, gearycomedyclub@gmail.com, all one. He'd be absolutely delighted to hear from you, whether you've just got ideas, want to have a go, want to see what's going on, whatever.
Spotlight. brought to you by the Isle of Man Arts Council.
Now, we haven't heard from the bard, Boaksy, for some time. We were hoping to get together for a bit of a catch-up, but a combination of her commitments, TT and some ill health here and there means it hasn't happened, unfortunately, over the last few weeks, but we are hoping to get together early next month before she has to pass on her bardic chair to the next recipient. In the meantime, she sent us a poem she performed recently for the centenary of the cenotaph and the Manxman atop his tower on Douglas Prom. And a wonderful thing it is too.
100 years. 100 years ago and 10, the youth of man had left their home in droves, the highest volunteer rate in these isles. They knew and cared not of the horror they would face, the trenches and the chemical attacks. They left their farms, their offices, their boats in answer to the call. Their innocence denotes the different world they lived in, media-free. It matters not. They still had bravery. 100 years ago and more, some blown up at the Somme, crews drowned at sea, the countless killed beside Gallipoli. Manx family names and strangers to these shores. 700 menfolk gone. And Doris Quain, Queen Mary's AAC, who also served and died. Her name, quite rightly carved, preserved with all who paid that final sacrifice. In gratitude, a tribute was devised. 100 years ago today, subscription fund to permanently mark the fallen of the war to end all wars. £3,400 they made. Ewart Crellin's plans were picked and paid. Then Thomas Quayle was asked to make the base. An Exeter sculptor, Harry Hems, embraced creating Manxman, 10 feet tall, a 3-ton god, protecting man forever, granite hard. 100 years, and now we gather to commemorate, not celebrate. For other wars have added to the lists of those who left this island, never to return. Men and women fighting hard for peace, an end to conflicts, will they ever cease? 100 proud years, our Manxman still holds fast. Please let the names inscribed here be the last. 100 years from now, we who have kept the faith do solemnly declare and vow our children's children, friends and families will gather here again once more with love, compassion and respect, with grateful thanks. This memorial we preserve since we revere the memories of the fallen listed here. In years to come, Manx men and women, all good folk of man, will still remember them. We will remember them.
Finally this evening, well, it might not have felt or looked like summer recently, but summer it is. Don't worry, soon be Christmas, which means Kensington Arts, that little gem in the heart of Douglas, which does so much for arts and the youth on the island, are gearing up for their summer activities. All manner of workshops and events will be taking place. To find out a little bit, I had a chat with drama lead Louise Beckett and teacher of art at Junior Art Tank, Faith Berry.
Well, we've got the Adams family are in rehearsal at the moment, and they're going to be performing on the 25th, 26th and 27th of July. And it's a 2-hour full version, really, really exciting. The dancing, the music, the comedy, it's terrific.
Oh, great. And this is all
So
being
book
done,
your tickets
all being
now,
done in-house?
All in-house, yeah.
So this actually incorporates then, presumably, obviously incorporates acting. It'll incorporate backstage skills. It'll have presumably art. It'll have the music in. So it's incorporating quite a few different skill sets.
And that's what we're wanting to do more of now as we go forward, and even thinking 5 years ahead. So children coming to us at a young age can evolve with us and develop, and then become professional, as our famous young student recently did. We've got an incubation project starting in the summer, a performance art project.
And what is that? Is that as it sounds for people starting out, or how does that work?
Well, it's for all of us starting out, really. It's an experiment. We are going to have a poem written for us by Fiona Gell. Do you know Fiona Gell? She wrote Spring Tides.
Yeah.
She
Dr. Fiona Gell.
Published last year, that's correct. So she's a marine conservation and climate change specialist. She's writing a poem which is going to be about imagining a better future. And the idea is the children that want to come and work with us on this, we're going to be collaborating with James Doyle, who's movement, myself, Emma Goodson, the art and coordinator for Kensington Arts, bringing everything together. And the music, we're having somebody coming back from the UK who was with us last year, all being well. And we're going to have 1 week where we're all going to work together and then perform the poem at the end of the week on the Saturday. So Monday to Friday, perform on Saturday, but it's going to be a showing of work rather than a performance. And from this, we expect to all learn, and we're going to draw up a youth theatre. And the youth theatre will work through the year, and all being well, have a full piece of theatre an hour long by next year. And who knows, take that off island, who knows? I mean, the work is going to be celebrating the Isle of Man, the biosphere, what's beautiful about the Isle of Man, what's special about the Isle of Man, and the global reach we have here. So the basking sharks, they go to New York. You know, imagining a better future, how can we protect and look after and ensure a better future for our young people, with our young people? And arts is about imagining, well, it's about inspiring change, isn't it? Art's inspiring change.
Absolutely. Faith, where do you come into these things?
So myself and my colleague Jemima will be hosting a junior art tank workshop over a series of weekends during the summer months, so starting from late July to early September. And the kind of theme of it is the 4 elements of nature. So it ties quite nicely into everything else that's happening there. So each weekend, it happens every other weekend during these summer months, we'll be focusing on fire, air, earth and water as well.
And are these the ones where people get messy, where they sort of get in and get sort of messy?
Oh, yes. Especially the fire one. Over the weekend, what they'll be doing as well, the kids, they'll be working on a little piece of art that they can take home at the end of that weekend, as well as maybe more of a collaborative piece that can stay in the art studio where we're hosting the event. So by the end of the summer months, you'll see all the elements being put together, which it'll be just, I can't wait, it'll be fantastic, I reckon.
And with regard to these, whether drama or the art, are these open to anyone? So sort of kids coming along, do they have to have, a bit of a skill set already in these areas?
No.
Or can they come along with no experience whatsoever or any skill in art or drama?
Just come. I mean, it's £3 for a 2-hour session, a drop-in. You don't the first one's free, isn't it? Just come and find out what it's like. And enjoy yourself. And we want to nurture the young people and mentor them as they grow as they grow up and develop. I mean, the arts it's so good for well-being, isn't it?
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt, I think. And do you get, the sort of the kids that come along, are they broadly from the sort of the immediate area? Do you get them from all over Douglas, from further afield? What sort of kids actually come along to the sessions generally?
Totally depends. We can get them all over the island, to be honest. I think it was mainly Douglas because that's where we're located. But it is open for any child on the island between the years, of 3 till 6, that primary school age. They can come and just see what it's about. So we host workshops, between the summer months and between the holidays as well on a weekly basis. So that's when Louise was saying about the taster session. You can come along to either a drop-in drama, a writing workshop, or some music or some art. Just see if you like it, and if you do, that's perfect. Please come again, or you can, try different workshops, try different creative outlets.
And there's so many. I know I've been there before, and maybe I'll come up later, hopefully a little bit later in the year, maybe. But there's sort of there's been, like you say, there's drama, there's the art tanks we've been looking at or talking about today. But there's usually, like I said, creative writing. There's poetry. There's social media. Quite often, there's like a recording studio and music and
sound
kids
check.
I mean, there's so much stuff going on there. It is a. I always say it's a bit of a sort of an unknown gem,
It's
really,
buzzing.
in the heart of Douglas.
Yes, an unknown gem, absolutely. Yeah, and we don't want to hide ourselves away. We really want to let people know that
Well, this
we're
is it.
here.
I
And
mean, I
come
say
along.
normally it's often going out there, but you speak to people and they say, "Oh, I didn't know
I
there's so
didn't know
much going
that,
on."
yeah.
there."
I mean, I've been covering the drop-in drama for the last month, and with Faith as well. And we've got lovely little 8-year-olds coming along to that, and they bring their teddies. We play with all of them. We have a great time for 2 hours on a Thursday, 4:30 till 6:30. But we've got these drop-ins, the drop-in art tank, the drop-in writing. There's an adult class for writers as well on a Thursday morning, I think it is. But we're looking now, how do we progress this? How do we have a plan for 5 years, say, a consistency so that we can grow and then draw from our drop-in sessions to create for longer projects? So the Addams Family, the cast will have been drawn from drop-in sessions. In the experimental arts, the performance art, that will be open to whoever wants to come along, as far as I'm aware. You need to check all this with Emma. It'll be a 1-week commitment. It won't be a drop-in.
Yeah.
The commitment will be important, and it'll be 10 till 4, Monday till Saturday. But then the NT Connections, that's incredible.
Well, that's amazing, isn't it? Because they get on, I think David Dawson's been doing it for a few years.
Fantastic.
And the standard is incredibly high.
Absolutely.
And then they take it across and, they'll perform almost
Theatre Royal York, and they even performed at the Dorfman, the National Theatre on the Dorfman stage a couple of years ago. I mean, what a wonderful experience for the kids.
It's amazing. And as we say, I think it's punching well above our weight. We know the Isle of Man has always produced an amazing array of great artists in whatever genre, and a lot of whom, again, some famously, some perhaps slightly more below the radar, but go on to actually great things on either the national UK stage or indeed the world stage in some places. And it never ceases to amaze me that literally, 5 years you can go from being at KA to Broadway, Hollywood, the West End, literally, and it's you just don't know really when you get in there. So it could be an opening doors to amazing things.
Isn't it?
It's an awful lot of confidence. There's always luck, of course, but a lot of it's confidence.
Absolutely, but the confidence to go for it.
Yeah. And I think that's the main thing. If you don't, until you actually have that confidence to stick your head above the parapet and say, "Oh, I wouldn't mind having a go at art," and "Oh, I don't know, can I?" And it's that thing of you're not wanting to make a fool of yourself, whether it's within visual arts or whether it's within performance arts. You just feel that, oh gosh, I might not be any good, but basically you'll get there. You're not going to be embarrassed. You're going to have a great support, great chance working with other kids. And, you just don't know. You might find hidden talents you didn't know you had. Is often the case. How do people find out more? Go to the website, or what's the best place to find out more details?
The website, yeah. So if you want to sign up for the Junior Art Tank Summer Workshop, all the tickets on sale on the website, as well as what other projects we have going on.
That's great stuff. I tell you what, the Junior Art Tank room is brilliant. They've sort of decorated it themselves. Not deliberately, I don't think. I think it's paint splashes over the years. And finally this week, whilst we're talking about the Arts Council and everything the Arts Council does, perhaps you might have considered becoming a member of the council. Well, if you have, listen up, because this could be your chance. We'll be talking about this in greater length next week when we chat to Jane Corkle from the Arts Council itself, but they're looking for new members. Members sit for a 4-year term and then they rotate over, and there are applications now invited for 2 new members to serve for a voluntary 4-year term. Now, applications are open for anyone with a passion for the arts, with an experience in any art form. So that can be dancing or sculpture or visual arts, acting, music, you name it, of course, and also interested in furthering the goals and objectives of the Isle of Man Arts Council itself. So basically being a good, rounded person with a background in the arts. Sarah Maltby, MHK, who's chair of the Arts Council, says they actually see the benefit of arts in the community, and the council's looking to look to the future of working to support vibrant, creative, artistic communities within the Isle of Man. She goes on to say, our team has experience in all fields of the arts. We're hoping to welcome new members who will continue to broaden our vision of arts, culture and creativity for everyone. Now, if you do become a member, there are up to 10 meetings throughout the year, and Arts Council members also attend other cultural and arts events by invitation to represent the council itself. Members offer support and advice in the allocation of funding for arts and cultural venues, projects and events throughout the community, promoting the arts in the Isle of Man and contributing to the ongoing development of the Tynwald-approved National Development Strategy for Culture and the Arts in partnership with Culture Vannin. If you're interested, get in contact. Isle of Man Arts Council, that's iomartscouncil@gov.im, or you can phone 694598. You can get application forms via the website. The closing date is Friday, the 19th of July. So if you're interested, what are you waiting for? This is your chance. And as I say, we'll be talking about that more next week. Don't forget, if you want to hear anything again, go to banksradio.com, download the Spotlight podcast, listen where and when you want. Why not try it whilst whittling a small piece of wood into the shape of the new Lord Bishop? See you next week. Until then, look after yourselves, and whatever you're doing, be creative about it. Cheerio.